Hello Tech Genius, I am Ravi. Have you ever imagined a place where learning is as dynamic as the technology shaping your world? Then here's a deal. With iMatix, you can make sure the learning is exciting, impactful right from the beginning. You have interactive sessions with expert-led courses. In the world of tech, from data science to cloud computing, it's not just about a session, it's about doing, building, learning by solving real problems. So let's get started. If you talk about Active Directory, if we're coming back to Active Directory, let's understand. You know what is this concept and which concept this Active Directory it is built of, right? If you remember in our 90s, right before early 90s and 1990s, we used to have a kind of phone book, right? In this phone book, we have our page number, right? Let's say it is starting from A, you have a different page B, you have different page C and different page D up to Z. If we are going to store a phone number in that particular book or directory, let's say the person name is making like a David or something. We used to go to the page D and write the name David, and we used to store the phone number. And same if a person name start with K, we used to store their name in K and we used to store their phone number. When we had the requirement to call any person right through the telephone, what we are going to do, we used to open the page. Let's say if I want to call Kevin directly, I used to jump I'll see the number A, B, C, D up to K, and I used to go to the page K, and in the K I used to directly find the number of Kevin, right? This is how we used to refer a phone book. These Active Directory concept, right? It is basically a directory access protocol. It is nothing but it is called as a LDAP, Lightweight Directory Access Protocol. This directory access protocol, it has a protocol using which we use to access or retrieve the data. How the organization or the structure happen. Active Directory structure used to happen in a real life structure. Let's say if this is my home directory, right, and my home directory name is Saviynt, and here I will have different options. Like that, right? It might have different branch here and also here in the B. I can store the data in different number of column in this format. How it is easy to access the directory access protocol. Basically, if you talk about older version, when there is no directory access protocol, the retrieval of your data or accessing your data, it was not that much forced or it was not reliable. That is the reason, right? The directory access protocol comes into picture. How it leverage or overcome the issue with your database, right? It's simple. It will store the data in a tree-like structure. Let's say if this is your base domain right, I want to refer to any object that is residing under a right. I can directly come to A and access number of people who are there in A. Let's say it's Avinash A for like a Anand, right? These are like people who are residing A under A, or if you want to go directly to D directory who a person are there. Let's say I'm searching for a person David, right? I can directly jump to the D directory, right, and I can refer this person. This is how directly write without searching all over your database. We can come to the point and we can find the data. The problem over was in the database, right? When we use database, let's say if we are in the database, right? How the search used to happen. It doesn't have any it does not have an entry point or endpoint. If I have, let's say in database, I have a table, right? I want to this database table having one lock of record. And this one lock record it is stored in the scattered system. What does it mean? Scatter system in database, it never arranged the data like based on alphabetically. If I have like 15 or like this one lock user, let's say it is stored in this format. It is not going to scatter like first L will come, then B will come, the next will come. It randomly store the data whenever any data insert is happening. If I want to refer any user, let's say I'm referring this, the user. It will search in a database right unless it found. That is where it is coming the issue. In real time, you see it in our computer world or anywhere you go. The retrieval always happen up to 70%. I'm just giving an example assumption. Insert or new record creation happen, right? In the less format, let's say in the day one, right? This is my database. Right. This is my access now or save, and you called it right. This is your save event. And if this is, I will consider my enormous database. And this is your save event. I have, let's say, 10,000 record already inserted here, right, and day by day basis. We have like 5 user or 10 user. We are daily onboarding to our application as an HRAM person every day 5, 10, 13, 14. These number of users are onboarded to your application. But the retrieval way, how people are accessing the data, that is huge in number compared to your insert purpose. What I mean, if I am inserting 5 to 6 users or record on a daily basis, right, daily basis, but retrieval it is happening like in lakhs or thousands of record. Why this is a human tendency? Everyday people are trying to log into their account and they perform different if in work. That is how they are retrieving the data, right? But joiner and mover scenario, when people are joining in number, that will be less. That is why we required a most reliable process where the retrieval record, right, happen very effective or fasted way. That is right. For that reason, the company, or we call it a scientist developer technology, they call it as a BAPI first. It was a DAPI, right? That was a directory access protocol. They created a directory, right? What does the directory refer to? The base directly, it will have some value, right? Like let's say com.save, and this is your base directly, or we call it as a base DN, or some people call it as a forest. Under this com.save n, this is your base DN, right? Will have different branches. What branches will be there? I will have a different number of branches. Let's say I have a branch called user. I have another branch called computer. I have a different branch. Let's say this is like, employee, right? These are the different branches which will be creating under your base domain. And if I wanted to store any data related to computer, right, directly, I can store under computer. If I wanted to store any record of employee, I can store in employee this subdirectory. And if I wanted to store any related to information, user or contact, I can store it in the contactor. This is how you know it is scattered, right? Rather than referring to your whole system, you can directly refer to the user directly. In this process, what will happen? Your retrieval of record, or selecting a record, it will be too much faster. That is why in our security concerto, anywhere in the industry, people refer, to store the data and manipulate, and for authentication and for authorization purpose, right? We use directory access protocol. Some people, they use Active Directory. Some people use Microsoft. Some people use Oracle Unified Directory or Oracle or Internet Directory. That in market, different company has introduced their own database. We are going to consume Active Directory for our integration purpose. In the real time, the Active Directory can be used for your authorization or authentication purpose, or to refer users, computer, and storing their data. There is a number of uses of your Active Directory. If I take a right, is how this activity will be present. First, let's say if this is our saving environment. This saving environment, it will be like integrate with our directly. This actually directly will integrate in two ways. This activity will act for us as a source. This is our Active Directory. This Active Directory, here HR person or HR person who are there, they're gonna drop or create some of the record here or user information here. Let's say this on world user A, B, C. Right. This activity HR, right, will be integrating it straight through. You're saving and using your user input or trusted recon. This using this user input trusted recon, right? We will be connecting to saving and user ABC, right? It will get in your saving. As you discussed right earlier, how we can automate the process of provisioning user to your target system. What I mean, once the user ABC, it got created in your saving, we will apply some policies to this user. What we can apply? Policy. This policy in all your technical rule. Once this policy in all your here for the service user, using the technical rule, this ABC user will get onboarded to your DB application. Right? This is our one use case. We'll be covering that. The user will get access to DB application, right? And using your user input, another user use case will have where this is your saving system, right? I'll provision the user, right? I will create the user account. This ABC user account also will get created in your ad. The user information, whatever this user, there that user information ABC will be created in your ad. We discussed right how it is going to create it using this job is something that it's a back end in a Java code containing that is helping to process your task. Whatever it is generated for your Active Directory. The free will be provisioning user that ABC user will be created here as an account in our Active Directory. This is one of the case that will be covering for your W3 job, and the user will be created in your target system. Let's proceed for our first task. Right. This is our HRM source as Active Directory. I will onboard some of the user here. Right. Some use on. It will happen to your Active Directory. Once your Active Directory is, it is onboarded with user, we'll prepare this Active Directory to get integrate with your CBNAN. If you wanted to integrate any application with your CBNAN, right, we required one thing we always talk, that is a connector. Remember, if you go to your older version, right, or other software or other platform like a SailPoint and OEM, we used to require a different kind of server, connect the server. Basically, that connect the server, it was helping you to mitigate the dependency. But here we required only one thing, right? That is, this is your Active Directory and this is your CBNAN. If you want to integrate them between, we need to prepare a connection. This connection will help you to integrate your Active Directory application with your CBNAN. First, let's look how this connection it looks for us and how this connector works for us. If we go back, now click on the connection, right? We landed off in your connection part. Just go to action and click create connection. Here, if you see the connection type right, we have a AD. For different purpose, we have different application. I'll choose your AD, right? And if you choose the connection type as AD, you see different option is popping up. You need the URL of your Active Directory. You need the username of your Active Directory, that is your service account or admin user, using which you can connect to your Active Directory. And the same way I have to provide my password. And it's asking in the next step whether it is LDA or AD. Basically, they're leveraging the single connection here in AD for both for LD, AP and AD. In my case, I will be using AD. And this is your search filter. Basically, it is asking where I want to search the user. You can mention the search directly in a particular manner, or let's say if this is your root directory, your directory name is Saviynt. Under that, if you are different in directory or subdirectory, let's say you have a user scene equal to users, scene equal to computer, you have your n equal to employee. 3 directory, if I have right, I want always the search filter or the search criteria should be my user. Not all these two. I want the search criteria should happen here. I should give scene equal to user. We are sorry, this will be scene equal to user. DC equal, comma, DC equal. Saviynt this way. Some example I'm giving is used to mention, or if I want the search filters to be my always based domain, I can also mention that DC equal to comma DC equal to. This DC is present to your domain controller, right? What is your domain name that you are to provide? You will see some of the things, right? You see, right? You will have some bin. That is your distinguished name. Basically, this distinguished name we use to refer unique record, refer in your Active Directory. If you want to refer a single record, that record it will be called as distinguished name. This distinguished name, right? It content your information from starting to end. That means your this root directory, your base directory, under that what user you have, let's say Avinash, the way you have right this user, it will how it will refer and refer as scene equal to Avinash, the way scene equal to users, comma DC equal to comma DC equal to Saviynt. This whole information, right? This is your unique address, right? If I want to travel to this user, first I stood enter, right? It is telling go to save and then come right inside user. In inside user scene, we have the user. This is your distinguished name. It is called as a distinguished name. Let's see how you know. What other is attribute we are going to refer? And we have some different options. Like you have to mention your object filter. It will come to this part, also your importization, right? Account attribute. And the first thing, right? The most important thing we required, that is your user attribute. This user attribute where we'll be mentioning all your attribute or your that metadata, or you called all your user details. What user information I am getting from my Active Directory, those information I am going to mention here. Let's say I am carrying display name of the user, last name of the user, first name of the user, right? and country of the user. Those information I'll be carrying from your Active Directory to your saving. Those information I'll be mentioning under your user and score accurate. Let's see how the sample value it is looks for us in the user attribute, right? If I open the document that is referred for your Active Directory integration, this is your Microsoft Active Directory integration guide, which is given by your Saviynt. Just open this document, right? If you scroll down, you'll find a lot of detailed information, right? This is link connector and for importing account access and integration. Purpose for importing user. If I go to this importing user section, right? Basically, I'm trying to import the freshly or some of the users to your Saviynt. Just refer this section. And what is parameter is required for configuring user input. It is telling if you look at this value rate, we will call to sale, we will call to accounts right, DC company DC comp. They're telling the sales is the base container and account is the root of the domain. This domain right. If this is your domain and inside that abccompany.com, your account is the root directory, right? Where the salesperson rate is a base container. These are the some information they have provided, right? How are you going to write your JSON, right? For your import purpose, this is your JSON format, how it has given rate. To pass the status using a string, you're not passing a string. It should be this way. The value should be right. Just copy it right. What information you are trying to pass? This is a sample value, right? I think the full value is not coming here. The consilience field and those value, it is still missing. Scroll down, you see it is giving database and directory. We require the Active Directory, right? Click on this Active Directory. Here in the left side, we click this button and let's see what it is giving us. No, maybe not. This is the document I'm looking for. Go back one more time. There should be some classical provisioning. It is not there. This fine. Configuring the integration for provisioning and deprovisioning account. Configuring the integration for importing user. If I go down right, this is the same document we are referring. And if you scroll down right, this is your whole JSON actually, right? Copy this job, which we required. Or we have the copy button here, right? If I take it out, just paste it here, right? These are the value that is really required, right? And here it is, one enter. And here this is the JSON, right, which will be passing for Active Directory integration. What this JSON it is representing? while we are importing the data or integrating with our HRMN source, right? This HRMN source, which is now our active as AD. I'm integrating this AD with our Saviynt application or Saviynt framework, right? This Saviynt framework, I am integrating it with this HRMS AD, right? And as I see the HMM's information, right, this HR person, they have created some of the record here, the record like A, B, C and VQR. While this information, this A, B, C user, I'll be bringing to you Saviynt, right, through the user import, or we call it as a trusted recon, right? Trusted recon. Through the trusted recon, right? I'll be mentioning what a lone parameter or user information I want to bring. The user information here might be write your first name, right? This user last name. This user will have also your email address might be right. Or this user information might have your object GYD. This object GYD is nothing but your unique ID of your EX record. These are some of the information, right, which I should bring to your Saviynt. To bring back the JSON I'm preparing, you should mention all this attribute, whatever matching attribute of your HRMs or AD. Let's say my AD first name Fnon, right? It matches with my Saviynt first name. That is how you should map here. Here you can see I'm mapping the display name, the right side display name, right. It is a string, right. The left side of this value, this redeterminate or this represent your Saviynt. And the right side represent your Active Directory attribute. I'm mentioning the Active Directory attribute of display name should go to display name attribute of my Saviynt. The same way, right, I'm also telling the distinguished name of my Active Directory. It should store in the comments field. These are left side field, right, which are already present in your Saviynt system, right. When I do the integrate or I do the user, import all the value for the user. Let's say I have the user first name, right? You can find the first name, it will be here. The first name attribute or the last name attribute should bring to the respective column or respective field name of your access now. Bad thing we need to mention here. This C envelope, right? I'm passing to the custom property one. What field we have present for a user? First we should know that in our Active Directory for a user, what will field that present? If you look that right, this is your. Let me close this one. Now this is actually a Windows 2022 server. If you required any Active Directory to install of your own, you always require a server edition. What normally we are using your day-to-day basis, we are using Windows 10, Windows 11, right? These are some of the version we are using, but that is it's a end user version, or you can say normal version. There we cannot install our Active Directory. This is a 2022 version of your server edition. And here if you click on the start menu, right, and you see there is a server manager. Basically this server manager, it is the server residing where your Active Directory is residing. This Active Directory, click on adding role and feature and your Active Directory will be installed. And on top of that, once you install your Active Directory, it will ask you to promote the server. that's a different separate topic, right? Close this one. Simple. What you can do, click on this menu, right? And where we are going to be the Active Directory. Open this one again, right? This is a server manager, right? Once you open this, click on this tool and go to your Active Directory user and computer. Active Directory users and computer, open this one. Right? Once you open that, you see we have a domain here called Saviynt. This Saviynt, basically this is your base domain, or you call it as it is your initial forest. Under that we have, you can see we have computers also there, right? We have users also there. These users and computer, these are where all your users information are stored. This is one kind of it is. You can say this is your one of the directory where I'm storing the information. You will see that is admin user, right? Our administrator user is there. Let me create some of the user here. In the same user, right click here and click on new, then click on user. I'll give the user first name as some Kevin, and what is the last name? I'll give some Swan. This is one user. What will be the login name for the user? I'll give. Basically, let me provide Chasson some login ID kind of I'm giving here. And this will be at the right Saviynt. This is your domain name. Click on next. Provide some default password. Without password, you cannot create a user in your Saviynt. Sorry, in your Active Directory. I gave some of the user password information. Click on next and finish it. We have some of the users, right? I created a Queen already. We have some test users, Saviynt House, no 1, no 2. This is actually how the Saviynt your activity looks. If you want to have a better look for you, the tree-like structure, right? You can follow a simple installed Apache directory software. It's a browser actually. That browser, it will help you to access Active Directory. Come on, where did it go? I believe here you have your Apache directory documents. Go to this folder. Open the Apache directory, Apache Directory Studio. And this is your Apache Directory Studio application. Open it. Once you open it, right, it will ask you to configure your Active Directory here, because this is a normal browser where you can view your Active Directory users and computer information. You can create a connection, right? Right click this connection, or you have to go right click and new connection. Once you give the connection right here, to give a connection name, let's say I'm giving ed, and what is the host name? Basically to connect this activity to application, right? If you look this up, this Active Directory, it is installed on this machine itself, not other place, right? This is the one machine where it is storing. Let me type the same command and get me the IP address of the machine. The default port, always it will be 389. When you configure your Active Directory, you can change the default port, and this is your non-SSL port. There is two ports, SL, another is your non-SSL. SSL port, if you're using that is a way to secure and some certification, I'm discovering your non-SSL port. Because I am not that much of great in Active Directory installing certificate, we can manage from Saviynt side. But from Active Directory, if you want to make it as SSL, your Active Directory team has to generate a certificate. Here I am using it non-SL port. Just before going to next, check the network parameter whether this host name and this port it is correct or not. Click on check network parameter. We got a successful connection rate. We'll go to next. Here it will ask you your service account name, password or credential to connect your Active Directory. This Active Directory, what we are viewing here, right? It is secured by your credential. What is that credential? Basically, we are referring this user, this administrator user. This administrator user, it is coming from your users, this directory and this user directly. It is residing under your Saviynt domain, right? If I wanted to write the username, let me write this way. It should be sin equal and meaning stator comma sin equal to users comma. First we give the common name of this atmosphere user, that is your administrator, right? This is a user type and I gave the sin equal to administrator, and then again I'll travel to sin equal to user. I get sin equal to user comma. After that it is coming your Saviynt, means this is not a single domain. It's a single domain, but the name it is referring into two different wording. It should be like dc equal to comma dc equal to Saviynt and the password. 1 second. I believe it is cloud $1234 capital C, and you the cloud $1234. After providing this information, you have to check or click on the check authentication, that it will try to verify and it will try to log into this Active Directory. If this is successful, it should throw a successful message. The authentication is successful. Just click on and click next. These are the some information, right, when you will be searching your data in this browser. And these are the some of the information you can set it up. I'm leaving it as a blank. Click on finish. You might be, surprising if I have the directly access of Active Directory. Why should I search through it? Apache Directory Browser. Because in your real time, nobody is going to give you access to this Active Directory. Computers or user this Active Directory application. Nobody is going to be accessed. This is a secure application and these all application right. It is only for the admin who are managing the Active Directory. If I say be in developer if you want to view your Active Directory, right? They also not going to give you this admin user. They will create a separate user for you, like this cabin, right? And this user, they will add some of the groups that you can, at least browser read only copy. Here how I configured this ad. After that, just click on open connection and you will ended up in this your domain. Right. This is your domain. This equal to command is equal to save it. If you expand this right, you find a lot of user information. What you see here. Those information also you view here, but not the 100% information, because you are an admin here. And also you are an admin here. That is why you are able to see. But in the real time, the admin who is maintaining this Active Directory application, they will give you read-only access to this Active Directory that on day-to-day basis you can find or debug any issue, or if you're creating any users. Right. How it views? Those information you are going to view here. This is your base domain. This equal to this equal to Saviynt. Right inside that we have some of your directory Cine equal to built-in. Cine equal to computer. Like this, we have a directory called Cine equal to. Just expand this one, right? You see the already content, the user. We created some of the user, that is your key. Your key. Not this one. I believe I created this key in user and this some of the past user. If you click on this user, right, it will have a value distinguished name. This distinguished name, right, it is a unique value for you. And if you scroll down, you do not have any email ID, right? You can add an email ID, or you should use some of the tool to generate your email ID or this email ID. You can pass from your Saviynt. From Saviynt, you can pass your email ID that the email ID will create here that we'll see. This distinguished name, it is your unique attribute. Basically, where user present this value, it can give you information if you look closely like this value. It is selling in the other way. You have to search first, will come to see if you're to save in this equal to come, right. It will come to your this base domain. After that you have the root directory or root domain, that is your C and equal to user. Inside C and equal to user, it will travel, right, and after that it will refer to your user. C and equal to Saviynt. This is how the user, when the search happened, it used to travel like that, right. And this is your streetlight structure where the user information you can view it same way, right, as this is your some of the user. Let's start to integrate this application with your save in that whatever user is present here, right. Those user we will bring to our Saviynt. We are just trying to prepare our this file, right, and this is your user import file. Preparing for that, what information we required, what we discussed, what attribute it, and then let's see if I try integrate my application. Let's see first attribute, it is link C and right. This is C and means a common name. Let's see if any user has a C and this user I have created by default, it might not have all the information. Let's refer a user who is already present. If I refer this attribute, you see the C and equal to guest. Even if I look for the admin user, see the C and equal to admin. That means the C attribute we have in our Active Directory, leave this value, keep it like that, and what is the type, that is string. This common name I'm storing in the custom property one. Which custom property one? Our Saviynt users custom property one. Basically when you talk, we'll be integrating user import, right. All this left table. Remember one thing, the word user import. We are doing a user import. That is why all this left side table column, what you see, these all are nothing but your Saviynt user table information, user table information. If you give a comma here, sorry, query days C. Users, right? Then this query. You see a lot of information, right? And what is the first column we are mentioning? It should go to the custom property one. You see the custom property one. It will be present. This is your custom property one. Like that, we are passing the name attribute. Let's see if the name attribute present here or not in our Active Directory. Name is the right. Let's give this value as display name. Do you have the display name? In our case, I believe we do not have a display name here. What is there? If I search any other user, display name used to be there. You can give the display name here, or else what I suggest, if any user information which is going to blank, or let's say if there is an admin user, I'm searching for this admin user rate. If for this admin user I don't have any display name, that time it might throw error. What will we do? We will bring only some of the important information. What user we created here? Kevin, right? Let's search this user. For this user, let me see this name. Is that? Let's keep this display name as well. You should look also the spelling or the spelling of your attribute name. This would be exactly match what you're passing. The capital and everything. And company. Let's see this company attribute present for us or not. I'm simply removing this company attribute. I'm not taking it. Whatever is required, I'll keep this. Otherwise, I'll delete it. The SN, that means surname. I believe SN will be there. Distinguished name we already discussed. This is one of your key attribute, right? Or unique attribute which is representing all your domain value, or distinguished name, the complete information of user. Keep this distinguished name. This distinguished name again we're passing to comments. That's fine. And user account control. You should understand this user account control, what this value, basically this attribute. It will decide whether your user is active or not. This is your distinguished name. We talk about it. And you're talking about user account control. User account control, if you open any of the user, if you scroll down, you see this user account control. It should be either 512 or 546. Most of the organization it will be 512. That means it is active. If any inactive user or you want to inactive and user simple, you have to change the value from 514 to 4. This 514 means it is inactive. This is in my case, this is 512. That means the user is active. Like that, you have home directory. I'm not considering it. They let this value. The CEO, I believe it won't be there or there. It is not there. Remove this attribute. And we got this common name. Common name we are passing to customer16. This is 2 times they are given. Simply remove this. Given them. We require this attribute. If you type given them, That means it is your first name. Given them, you can pass to custom property 7, or I will mention to this is as your first name. First name. Like that title. Title attribute is there, right? Telephone number. It is not there for us. Remove this C, right? It is not there for us. Let's not consider this attribute. Assign created. Take this attribute. US and create. This attribute is present. Keep it like that. And we're passing to custom property. LN account expire. Basically, this is for your end data, starting date. It is there. Keep this attribute and log and count how many times the log and count happen. It is also there. Keep it like this physically delivery office, and I think it won't be there. Simply remove this attribute. And when changed, I think this attribute will be there. When changed and when created, these attribute will record. Keep it like that. And extension attribute 1. It is not there. Remove this. These are 2 workers will not be there. Street address. In your real time, your application team who is handling this application, they will be required or giving you what attribute you should need to bring to Saviynt. As per your business requirements, business will decide what attribute you should bring. Based on that, you can take decision for our integration purpose. We can take the minimal value or minimal attribute, whichever it is required for us. This male nickname is not there for us. Simply remove this. Go to the department attribute, right? It is not there. Simply delete this one. Country code. I believe it to one that there are 2. The country code is there to keep it like that common name again. We're passing to username. This CN, right? It is there already. User principal name. It is also one of your key attribute. Keep this value. Manager. We are not mentioning any manager. That's why it is not there. But in real time, this attribute play a lot of vital role. You record a manager for you. She's home phone. It is not there for us. Mobile. This mobile value when created, we have, I believe, it is keeping your creation date. Keep it like that and some account. You record the same accounting in your organization or in your directory. Most of the guys that refer to some of them are unique. This is like your username in your save. Keep this attribute. You can search it. Some account name. What is your log in account name that it will be there to keep this some account name, right? Object is, I believe this object is there. Object is, I do your passing. And your object, do it also, your passing pages object already. And we are one more attribute. This reconciliation field. What is your reconciliation field? I'm taking a custom property in 26. That means while doing the user import, I am considering this object you already at is my unique attribute. This object, it is never going to seem. Right? It is unique whole across your Active Directory. That is why I am passing this object to you as Mary, conciliation field. Basically, whenever you are integrated in Active Directory or any other application, you record a reconciliation field based on which attribute it can carry your data. From where to where it will carry the data, right? If you were carrying the data from your application to a statement, right? Based on one unique attribute, it always carry your data. And in our case, we are considering object as my unique attribute. This object, right? I'm storing also in my custom property 26 and I'm mentioning this is my reconciliation field. Now copy this. User importation. Go to the next part, right? Just refresh this and log into this, save it. Once you log in, and we ended up in the connection, go to admin identity repository and click on connection. Go to action. Create a connection first and give the connection name. At direct emo, I gave some name and pass the same information as the connection description. And connection type, it will be AD. And what is your URL name? The URL name you can refer to a document. It will be something like this. How does it look? Just look at this document file. Just type user. Attribute. Mapping attribute. Basically, we did this. If you scroll down, you will see. I think you have to go a little up. Then you will find all your connection information will be mentioned. It started here. If you go up, you will find your connection information, right? Or else you can just go to directly here, right? You can copy this value and type it here in the document. It will give the URL information. Here it is passing the URL, right? It started from here. In this document, basically what URL it is asking, the URL format should be like something, this LDAP colon. This is your host name. That means we are passing your IP address. And after that the port number. It should be something like this. Copy this value and open your URL. Right. Your connection and type your port number here. किसी को This is your URL and what is your username. If you remember what username we use in an opposite directory, right? Open your connection, go to properties and go to the authentication. The same way we are passing the information. See, it is just a determination. Your LDAP, we are passing this IP address and this port number right. If you go again here in your network parameter, we are passing the same information. This is your host name, this is your post, port number right. Go to the authentication. Copy this binding. That is mean this is your user information. This is your username and what password we used. The same password. And in our case, we are integrating with your AD. Just pass this information only, and first you have to test a connection whether your connection is successful or not. We pass this for information and you required your user import JSON just to test the connection. Scroll down. You will be seeing user underscore attribute will be there. Right. Where we will be putting our XML file or JSON. This is your user underscore attribute. Copy this value. Right. Put it here in the connection. Now try to save your connection and test. The connection is successful now for us, but we required some more information. Mention LDAP or AD, right? What is your search filter? We discussed basically where I am going to search the data. I want to search the data. I'll mention only this is my base domain. DC is a Saviynt. I'll mention this value. Nothing else I'm going to mention. It should be other way. Right. First DC equal to cum should came for you. Right. And after that you should have your DC equal to Saviynt. DC equal to sum DC equal to Saviynt. Here I want to do the search filter. After that object filter, I'm just keeping it blank. We are not mentioning any filtering here. The this import JSON, actually this has a limit parameter. If you want to limit the parameter right, that you can mention. We have very less number of users, right? That is why it is not required for us. And our account attribute we'll talk about later when we come to Paragate Recon. That time it will come to picture. We do not have any entitlement as of now. Leave this like. Page sizes you can define actually here. In every recon how much page you want to bring it back. That you can also mention. We do not have any page in the same concept here. Right, we have only some of the user. That is why I'll keep it as a blank. Default user role. You can assign any role to the user default savvy role also. We'll talk about saver later. It is not required for you. Endpoint filter. Basically, if you want to filter multiple endpoint, don't reuse all your common picture when you do the provisioning. Base search filter. Again, it is asking right for provisioning of searches. We don't have any provision. When you provision, we simply mention DC where you want to provision the user. Based on that, like DC equal to com, I can give this equal to SVR. Just I'm mentioning my base domain information here. Filtering out not required. your account name rule. This is one of the important attribute it is required for you to provision in user. What does it mean? Basically, it will come to your picture when I do the provisioning of user. Without that, if you do that, that is not recommended at all. You should mention always your account name rule. What is your account name rule? We'll talk later when you do the provisioning part. That time I'll covering what is this, how it is required for you. Basically, this is nothing but it is telling what attribute you want to provision and based on what attribute. I'm mentioning I want to give the username, first name and last name and my domain name this format. It will provision the user. We'll say that later, right? What else we required here? We require this password field actually. Otherwise, right? Saviynt, this activity required a default password for each and every user. If you have seen right, when I was creating a user in Active Directory, that time it was asking me for password. If you don't provide that, it might throw error for you. Let's not go any other thing. I think we should give the status threshold config. This will show it will come to picture when you do the provisioning part. Leave it like that. This save and test. Let's see if we find any user any issue or not. Simply do the provisioning and see, then we'll come to things like what else things are required. Any other things? My connection is ready now. All the connection values there. Right. Just we have already created like how many users, some of the user like 4 to 5 user we have already created and some other user also present. We'll try to bring those user to save and how we are going to do that. We have our connection ready. As we talked earlier, right, simple go to job control panel. You have to prepare a job. Basically, what job you can prepare. And there will be application. Data import is available there. Go to your data menu. Right here you see application data import. Sorry, I'm wrong actually. It should be user import, actually not application data. This application data, it is for your target recon when you are bringing information, right, for your target application. Now we are considering as a user importer trusted recon, right? You should do it as a user import via connection. Click here. Create a job or the job is already there. Right. Simple, click on the start. Once you click on the start, import from save and connect thread, right, mention here. I think this is import from save and connect. No, we should have a different connector. I believe in older system, it's not properly there. Let me find out any suitable job is there for me or not. Or else we have to accommodate that only. This is only for your database only. It is required for data. Yes, I believe we have to accommodate with this user import only. Import from save and connect. No, if I give external connection, right, I'm giving here Active Directory demo, whatever I created. Job type, it should be full-time. Full import, allow user operation. This is for create and update. Both are mentioning user not in file X and no X, and I'm leaving this. if you remember where we used to mention this information, right? If you look our DB connector right here in the user import, we are mentioning all this information, user reconciliation user, not in file X, and right, everything we are mentioning here, the same thing we are mentioning also here, right? 0-day provisioning. As of now, I'm giving no because I have to configure it. It is not there. Zenith system username. You can get it like this, or I believe we are passing to the username column value rate. We have any username? The SC, and we are giving to username. We do not require to generate any username. We are already passing Zenith user email. We are not providing an email address here, right? Or we are providing, I think we are not mentioned Zenith user email. Yes. And check rule. We do not have any rule. We'll come back later when you know we do 0-day provisioning and reconciliation field. It is there, right? You can mention any field, whatever is required. I believe already we are mentioning in our JSON, right? It is not required. Simple submit it and let the job run and see if we are getting an error or it is creating for us. Let me keep my log file ready. This is your 1000. One return finish once it finished. Yes, I can grab the log and see what happened whenever you see the job used to start running date. If it has an error or it is not able to process, it will finish immediately. You know this whole you're saving concept, it works like a, it doesn't able to handle the error. Exception handling, you would have heard something Java is any exception awkward, right? We used to overcome that and process nest record. But here, saving the code is written something. If you find a single error also, it will stop there. It won't process further. Let me log the logs first. This is my log file. If I go down, scroll down to the bottom, it is telling import status success, and this job is question quad scheduler worker 10. See, you see some of the information, right? To http-nilo-a load aider execute 5 whenever you see this kind of information. That means it is a UI search. What I search in the UI that will come under this tag. Some number http neo80 execution 67 something like it will be, and your job always it will print under your quad scheduler underscore worker 9 or 8. It will be always like squad scheduler underscore worker. If this is mentioned, means you see we ran a job, right? This job. How are you going to verify this job where it ran? You have to always look like where the import started. Import stop. It is telling job.user import job. We ran and it ended here. What is the job name? It started basically quad scheduler worker 10. Let's see where it started actually. You see somewhere here it started, right? Quad scheduler underscore worker 10 jobs dot user import starting user input job. It started the job. Once the job start, actually for it is internal purpose, it used to create a ID for it that it can store, and in the import job it can refer this ID. Each and every job, whenever it ran, it used to create an ID. This is common for everything. It's telling start import user using external connection, which we had given right, and it is traveling through right. User source value, this means it is trying to process some this record, and if you scroll down it is telling what is the username. I am using the key username. Basically it is cn equal to administrator, right? And here you can see I'm setting a random password, right? They'll add it 1, 2, 3, 4 in the connection. I set it up right. I showed you I set up a random password for here for every user, this random password, right? It is renting here in your log. And if you come down, right, you see some of the valuable information also here, right? This is your job name, user import via connection, user import right, and it is telling a generate system username. I have mentioned false. That is true. And what is your connection name? The connection name is your Active Directory. Demo this connection it is referring. And coming down you see. Basically this is calling your Grail service, some internal code it is calling. And this is your base value, this equal to come, this equal to save, and what is my URL? I am passing here 192.168.56.3.89. This is my URL. If you scroll down here, you see my user import parameter, what it is trying to accommodate. This is the JSON, what I have passed here, right? All this is an income is passing here. And if you scroll down here, it is telling start importing AD data. Before that, it was validating all your prerequisite with everything present or not. After that, it defines or it say I am going to start the input because I found whatever is required. It is telling full import, jar import type. I'm simply using the import user. And what is the space size? By default, it is taking 1000. Don't consider this thing because if you have more than 1 lakh page, that time it will be processing like 1000 pages time. If you scroll down right, this is your parameter, but for the connection it is link incremental company. We don't have the incremental config. This is simple. What information we are passing? If you scroll down. This is my object class, what default object class it is taking for the degree. This is your search filter. This equal to come, this equal to save it. And import subdata user service started. It is starting for importing the data. Scroll down. And you see, if you scroll down date. User with username means doesn't exist. Creating one admin user also came to your user import. And adding user administrator to the batch that process this user. And after it is processing one by one user, you see user with name, user save, and 11101 doesn't exit. In my saving system, it is not there. It is creating a 1 for me. Adding user to save into the batch, it is just adding the user whichever is not present. Finally, it will process. You see saving 102. This is win user. Whatever user we had in our system, right? Everything it is trying to bring. All the record it is bringing here. This user we created, right? It isn't exit, it is bringing also this feature. Finally, right? It's how much user it even see it is trying to generate the email address for you. Other at page account. If your email ID is not present. It is trying to send it also. Let's see what else user it brings. If you scroll down, right, go to down, where it is telling your job and you see how much total record process it would have shown you. Number of log entries to be sent 13. Total time taken to execute this, most of the time it is taken. And sleeping, here it would have somewhere mentioned this much of record process. Building user map, processing. You see, right, number of user inserted 9, number of record found in feed, total number of user updated 1, the administrator user which was already present. That way it is operated and remaining 9 user. It got inserted total of a new number, user came to play. If I go to now my saving system, simpler go to your user menu, right, and try to search the user, whatever we bring back here, right? We bring one user that is in a cave in one, right? What is this cave in one user ID? Click here, right, remove this filter. If you remember in our this explicit for username, we had a field username you write in the left side. This is your system username. And I believe seeing we are giving to username. Let me search it. Here the C and write. We are giving the username. What is the scene of this user Kevin 1, right? If I try to search this value, Kevin's 1. In my civilian, I've given 1 and search it. See the username, it is acting as your CN. This user came an email ID. We mentioned to auto generate that it is generating the email ID for you. This email is in reason, it doesn't happen that way. See, I mentioned to auto generate the email ID. I know it can take my first name. Last time I was blank, that it take Kevin dot. But what is about the domain name, where it is getting the domain name, right? That is a question. Why it is passive.com? I should have my own domain, right? Because your username generation rule. There is a rule which you know, if you say while import is happening, right? Let's say I am doing the import from hrams table. This is my database to your Saviynt, right? While the import is happening, I am mentioning to generate the email for me. As you discuss, everything happen, based on a rule. For us, that is the email generation rule already created. Where you can find it, right? Simple. If you go to your global config, go to global configuration. You will be finding the user now's email generation rule. How does it generate email? That thing, if I go to home somewhere, it will be here. See email generation rule, it is there. If you edit it, how it is doing this? Have a look. This link first name dot last name. And again it is linked at the right. Passive.com. If first rule doesn't find or it is already exists, then again how it will do, right? Last name passive.com. It will pick another theory or another logic, or it should use last other paste dot. last name, then auto increte, it will do one link. This is how it is generating. I'll come to the email generation part as well. Right. I'll explain you in a very effective way. Don't worry, I'm just showing it right now, how the email is generated because of this email generation rule, right, which is already set up for us. That is why you saw auto generate email coming back. As your last name is empty, simply it is using a dot and it is ignoring your last name. In other way, if I try to search any other user, right, go, what is the scene, copy this here, and come back to here and try to search here. You see this username. In your real time, actually, this username, right, it is always mapped to your some account name. This some account name, it always matches to your username or system version. Basically, this username, whenever we search any attribute, right, simply if you type any value to use to come, but your username act most of the valuable unique attribute in your Saviynt. That is why this username always we match or we map with your some account name. This is how you are going to bring back your user or onboard your user to Saviynt from Active Directory. Simply you can pass more attribute. If you want to accommodate it, write that thing also, you can do it here. That is also possible. This is your user input. If you like this video, please like, share and subscribe to our YouTube channel.